Hi guys, Maikeru here. This is my Living Wyverns guide for 2020. In this guide, I'll talk about how to kill wyverns, the setup that I use, and how much money and XP you can expect to get. These are over 12 mil GP an hour just in their common drops right now because wyvern bones are very expensive. If you include the crossbow drop and the sand and everything like that, these can be over 15 mil GP an hour. They're also over 500k experience an hour, which is pretty damn good as well. And to be honest, they're probably one of my favorite tasks for Slayer, if not my favorite. They are just really enjoyable to do. So let's get into the setup. Something I want to say quickly before we get into it, Living Wyverns require 96 Slayer. So you do need 96 Slayer to kill these or be assigned them. Wyvern crossbow is also 5 times the drop rate on task. So killing them on task does net you a bigger profit, obviously. Another extra to this setup would be the tier 3 Slayer Lodge in Anachronia. If you put your Slayer helmet on the stand in there, you get the Slayer helmet bonus. So if you don't have the tier 3 Slayer Lodge with the Slayer helm stand, you're going to want to bring your helm to this task. I don't bring my helm because it's on that stand. And the Bone Crusher upgrade is really useful to auto loot bones to minimize the amount of time you're spending looting, alongside a legendary pet helping you loot. Going to be really helpful with bouncing between wyverns. You can get the Bone Crusher upgrade from the Arc, and I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to know more info on that. For the actual inventory setup, I have a Supreme Overload Salve. The reason why I use a salve is because it includes Worm Fire Potion. Protection from Worm Fire is 100% needed here. If you don't have Overload Salves, you can use a normal Worm Fire Potion alongside a Holy Overload or whatever. It doesn't have to be a salve. I'll then take a Replenishment Potion for some Adrenaline, some Super Restores for Prayer, a Weapon Poison plus as they are poisonable, and that stacks with Cinderbanes, note paper to note the bones, and then all the other generic stuff. The Dungeoneering Cape is used to get there quickly, and the Slayer Cape is used to get a new task afterwards very nice and easily. Worn equipment, you want to take your best melee gear. You want to take Dual Wield as it deals a bit more damage than a two-hander. So if you have like Drygores or something, take those. If you do only have a Scythe, it will still work fine. Dual Wield is just a little bit better, especially because you can bladed dive between them as well. Take Trim Masterwork if you have it. Obviously, Trim Masterwork's the best on a Slayer task, but if you have anything else, that'll be fine. Take your Luck of the Dwarves, Kiln Cape, whatever. One thing that I would say is optional and definitely very useful if you don't have the best gear, and that's a Vampirism Scrimshaw. This will heal you a ton, and I definitely would advise it if you have bad gear. If you have a gear setup like mine, you don't actually need the Vamp Scrimshaw. I just take some food in a legendary pet that I've turned into a Beast of Burden, and that will see me through the task easily. I'll just have to eat a food very rarely. But then that saves me over 1 mil an hour upkeep from not using that Vamp Scrim. If you do have 120 Slayer, make sure that you wear your 120 Slayer cape every time you get a task, because you have a 1 in 5 chance to pick your tasks with that 120 Slayer cape perk. So here my perk activated and I picked Living Wyverns, but obviously if you just get given the task, you go from Laniakea, use your Dungeoneering Cape to teleport to the Frost Dragon's resource dungeon, which is 08. Then once you get there, you just run into the other room with the Skeletal Wyverns and go down the hole into the place where Living Wyverns chill. If you don't have a 99 Dungeoneering Cape to teleport there quickly, you want to go south of Port Sarim, where I've marked on this map on screen. Go in this cave, and this is where they are. Living Wyverns really aren't that hard, and they have very low HP, which means they can be killed easily and effectively. You want to barge or bladed dive between the wyverns and just DPS them down as fast as possible. Obviously, alongside killing them, you do want to make sure you have your Worm Fire Potion on at all times, because that's the most important part. If you don't have that, you're going to be taking tons of damage. If you are taking loads of damage, even with the potion, Vampirism Scrimshaw will be your best friend. Try to stay in melee distance of the wyverns as much as possible, as they will deal less damage while you're in melee. You want to use 1, maybe 2 thresholds for each wyvern, and that should kill them. That way you'll always have some thresholds up for whatever wyvern you're killing as well. I just soul split and use my tier 99 prayer, but tier 95 prayer would be fine here as well. The only thing that can be a bit troublesome is the ice debuff. If this debuff hits 100%, you'll be stun locked. To make sure this debuff never hits 100%, you want to stand near campfires. Then you obviously light the campfire to make it go down. What I try and do is I'll find a wyvern that's near a campfire when I want to lower my ice. Then you don't have any downtime of actually killing the wyverns either, And there's nothing worse than trying to get your ice down at a campfire and getting ranged by wyverns and taking tons of damage. I normally try and stay around 40%, and this is kind of like the sweet spot that I like to stay at. Like I mentioned before, I take a legendary pet with some extra food in it, as I don't personally use a vampirism scrimshaw and it saves me money. The legendary pet is also really nice because it does loot for you. It doesn't loot every time, but it definitely helps. And that's essentially it for the wyverns. They're not too bad of a task, but they can hit quite hard. That's why I recommend the vampirism scrimshaw, especially while you're learning. These are around 5 tasks an hour, with an average of around 55 kills a task. Sometimes you can get in the 60s, etc. But I found 55 being a decent average. This would be around 275 kills an hour, and that includes time traveling between these and the Slayer Master. These are the rates that I get. It may be a bit slower if you have worse gear, etc. When it comes to the amount of money I made for an hour of Living Wyverns, I got 5 tasks done and it took me 59 minutes. So we just say 5 tasks an hour, including time to go back to Maikeru, etc. That sounds pretty accurate. I made 12.4 mil. Most of the money, as you can see, is in wyvern bones. They are super expensive and super good. Then everything else just adds on top of that. Some good money in the dragon stones, in the alks and coin drops from the spring cleaner, and herbs. Also, if you're going to farm this for a long time, the sand has a 1 in 1k drop and the crossbow has a 1 in 2k drop. So these, if you go on drop rate, add 3 mil GP an hour on top of this, making it over 15 mil GP an hour right now. Absolutely insane. Thank you so much for watching. Just a video showcasing how good Living Wyverns actually are and just how to do them. Hopefully it was helpful. If it was helpful, give it a like. And as always, until next time, see ya.